So tonight is a big night for the Ontario Hockey League as rounds 1 to 3 of the OHL Priority Selection take place tonight starting at 7 p.m. And it's a big night for the Peterborough Petes as they have the first overall selection. But what's really fascinating about this year is how they don't have the press conference the day before to unveil who the first overall pick is. That's been a tradition that's been going on for quite a while. I think it's been going on before I even started covering the Ontario Hockey League, but still, it just adds that extra bit of excitement of who's going to be selected first overall. I know there's a lot of people now suspecting that Caden McGregor will be the first overall pick. However, as I did that interview with Jordan Millette from Puck Preps, the top 4 or 5 players that are considered, the top 4 or 5, it's close. You could still see maybe a player like Max DeLille or Warren or Wysick go first overall. So we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. But still, it's an exciting time, especially if you're a fan of the Peterborough Petes, who are having their first. This is the first time they're drafting first overall, so it's a historic night for one of the Ontario Hockey League's more historic teams. But what's also interesting, it sounds like this might be the last time the OHL conducts the draft in the second round of the OHL playoffs. There's been some rumblings from people I've been talking to that the draft could be moved to June, and I know it's a tough time for some teams when you're playing in the second round of the playoffs, especially if they're the road team. I know for the Kingston Frontenacs, it sounds like management was at the game in Barrie, but then they had to make the trip back to Kingston for the draft, but they won't be there in Barrie for game number 2. So there's just a lot of scheduling conflicts and whatnot to prepare for this draft. This is a big moment for all these franchises, and that's why there's no games tonight. The playoffs will continue tomorrow night. There's 3 games that'll take place tomorrow, including the Colts as they take on the Kingston Frontenacs in game number 2. But still, an exciting time, and just stay tuned. It sounds like this will be the last draft that'll take place in the second round as the OHL will look to move the draft towards June. Speaking of the game last night between the Barrie Colts and the Kingston Frontenacs, Maleek McGowan actually was taken to hospital during the game last night, is what I've been told, and it's a suspected broken collarbone. He took a hit in the first period from Kayshawn Aitchison. What happened was McGowan looked like he was hunched over along the far boards, and then Aitchison cutting across made contact with McGowan. No penalty on the play, but for McGowan, the defenseman leaving the hockey game, he was hunched over and went right down the tunnel and did not return to the lineup. So a tough situation there for the Kingston Frontenacs. Piniemi also left in the first period. He suffered looked like an injury of some sort deep in his own zone early in the first period, but he did come back. And then at the end of the hockey game, Quentin Burns was assessed a major penalty for abuse of official. So we'll have to wait and see. Does that mean a suspension now to the Kingston Frontenacs captain? So that could be 2 key players out of the lineup for game number 2. Haven't had anything official about Quentin Burns. There was no physical abuse of official. It was verbal. He was given a misconduct penalty for comments made to the referee, and as he was skating to the penalty box, had some more comments towards the official, and that's when the abuse of the official penalty was handed out. So we'll have to wait and see on that front. So some tough news there for the Frontenacs, who played, I felt, a solid game in the first 2 periods. They were dominating on the shot clock. A lot of their shots came from the perimeter, but it was the possession time and really keeping the Colts on their heels in both the first and second periods. Sam Hillebrand made a couple of huge stops to keep his team in it. And Barrie, I felt, was kind of lucky to be up 3-2 going into the third period. And then, of course, in the third, the Barrie Colts just took over that hockey game. But this series, far from over. I think this is going to be a very close matchup between the Colts and the Frontenacs, but it's not going to be any easier with Maleek McGowan out and potentially Quentin Burns, depending on the league review of the abusive official penalty. Sticking with injuries, there was a big injury as well for the Brantford Bulldogs. They opened their series against Oshawa with a victory. However, Ryerson Leenders left the game early in the second period. Sounds like maybe a groin injury, so definitely lower body. And Leenders, he's been outstanding since coming over from the Brampton Steelheads at the start of the regular season. And David Igorov came in relief last night. He faced 22 shots and made 22 saves. So he made sure that the Bulldogs were able to get a win in game number 1. And I haven't gotten an official update as to whether or not Leenders will be back in net when it's game 2 Sunday afternoon in Brantford. But Igorov showed during the regular season that he's more than capable. And this is going to be a big test for the Bulldogs. We know they've got the offense, but now Igorov potentially the starter for the next couple games at least for the Brantford Bulldogs. So we'll stay tuned for that. Now, sticking with the Bulldogs, some exciting news. Patrick Thomas has signed his 3-year entry-level contract with the Washington Capitals. And for Thomas, he's been having a solid season. He's, of course, the captain of the Brantford Bulldogs. At 27 goals, 77 assists, good for 104 points. It was Thomas and Nick Lardis who were leading the way offensively for this team. So great to see that Thomas being recognized for his efforts. And he's going to be getting his opportunity with the Washington Capitals. And I'm sure that for Brantford Bulldog fans, they're excited too, but they want to see him stay with the Bulldogs maybe a little bit longer here. But still, congratulations for Thomas. There were a couple other signings. Carey Terrance of the Erie Otters, he has also signed his 3-year entry-level contract with the Anaheim Ducks. Terrance, he's been sidelined due to an injury since February 14th. It was an incident that happened in Owen Sound. There's been questions of whether or not he'll return to the Otters lineup for the playoffs as they're right now in that series against the London Knights. But still, he was selected in the second round, 59th overall by the Anaheim Ducks in the 2023 NHL draft. And he posted 29 goals and 52 points in his limited action this season. He appeared in 56 games for the Otters. He is a solid forward for the Erie Otters. And that Anaheim Duck system already loaded with great potential. And Carey Terrance added to that mix. Hopefully we see Terrance and Matthew Schaefer make an appearance in the second round series. The Erie Otters kept the game close there in the second period against London before the Knights eventually took that one away in game number 1. But still, Terrance and Schaefer, still no signs of them at this point. There was optimism they would return by the playoffs, but as this series goes on, or the playoffs go on, there's more and more questions about whether or not we'll see Schaefer or Terrance. And the final signing to talk about, Blake Smith of the Flint Firebirds, undrafted. He has been signed to an NHL entry-level contract with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And Smith was voted the best shot blocker in the Western Conference in the coaches poll. So Smith, he's a player that's sacrificing the body, an overage defenseman with the Flint Firebirds, and it's great to see him being rewarded. And the Toronto Maple Leafs giving him an opportunity. He'll likely join the Toronto Marlies of the American Hockey League, and just to get that experience at the next level. So that's the one thing you want to see from overage players, is that they showcase their talent in the Ontario Hockey League and then get a chance to sign that pro contract. Another player that comes to mind is Bo Jelsma, the captain of the Barrie Colts. He's in his overage season, still not signed by an NHL team. He's gone undrafted. So like Smith, I would love to see Jelsma also get an opportunity to sign a contract with the National Hockey League team. Jelsma was invited to the Pittsburgh Penguins camp back at the start of the regular season. So maybe there's a spot for Bo Jelsma once the season's done with the Barrie Colts. But still, I want to say a big congratulations to Blake Smith, putting in that hard work to get that entry-level deal from the Leafs. So that's how I see it from the booth, and I'll be back tomorrow at the rink for game number 2 between the Colts and the Frontenacs. I'll have a recap after the game, but stay tuned for the draft tonight. It's going to be exciting to see how it all shapes out. I know there's a lot of forwards that are expected to go in the top 10, but the big question is, who do the Peterborough Petes select first overall? Is it Caden McGregor, or will it be somebody else? Time will tell, but thank you very much for all your support. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. We'll talk to you again soon.